In this podcast episode, the hosts welcomed Rob Hersov, a South African businessman and commentator, to discuss the alarming situation in South Africa, particularly focusing on the issue of farm murders and the broader socio-political landscape. Hersov provided a comprehensive overview of the historical context, current challenges, and potential future scenarios for the country. Hersov began by outlining the historical formation of South Africa, tracing its roots back to the arrival of the Dutch in 1652 and the subsequent establishment of the Union of South Africa in 1910. He highlighted the complex interactions between white settlers and indigenous tribes, which included both cooperation and conflict. The discovery of gold in the late 19th century intensified these tensions, leading to the Anglo-Boer Wars and the eventual establishment of apartheid in 1948, a system of institutionalized racial segregation that lasted until 1994. The peaceful transition to democracy in 1994, led by Nelson Mandela, was initially celebrated as a triumph over oppression. For a period, South Africa experienced economic growth and stability, largely attributed to Mandela's leadership and the ANC's policies. However, Hersov noted that this period of relative success was short-lived as the country began to face significant challenges post-2008, particularly under the leadership of Jacob Zuma. Hersov painted a grim picture of the current state of South Africa, emphasizing the alarming rate of farm attacks and murders. He stated that there are 2 farm attacks every day and 2 murders of farmers every week, making farming one of the most dangerous professions in the country. The violence is often racially charged, with calls from political figures like Julius Malema of the Economic Freedom Fighters, EFF, inciting hatred against white farmers. Hersov expressed concern that this rhetoric is not only tolerated, but has become normalized in South African society. The discussion also touched on the broader socio-economic issues plaguing the country, including rampant unemployment, particularly among the youth, and the deindustrialization of the economy. Hersov argued that the ANC's policies have led to a significant decline in economic performance, with the country experiencing a stagnation in growth and an increase in poverty levels. He pointed out that the ANC has implemented numerous race-based laws that have exacerbated divisions and hindered economic progress. A significant part of the conversation revolved around the ideological underpinnings of the ANC and its alignment with socialist principles. Hersov explained that many ANC leaders were trained in communist ideologies during their time in exile, which has influenced their governance approach. He criticized the party for prioritizing ideological commitments over effective governance, leading to widespread corruption and incompetence. Hersov highlighted the concept of state capture, particularly during Zuma's presidency, where the government was infiltrated by corrupt individuals and interests. He argued that this has resulted in a kleptocracy that benefits a small elite while the majority of South Africans suffer. The discussion also touched on the cultural aspects of governance, with Hersov suggesting that a lack of accountability and a culture of corruption have become entrenched in South African society. The podcast also explored the international dimension of South Africa's challenges, particularly its relationships with countries like Iran and Russia. Hersov noted that the ANC has received support from these nations, which has influenced its foreign policy and domestic rhetoric. He expressed concern about the growing radicalization within the country, particularly among the Muslim population, and how this aligns with broader geopolitical trends. Hersov argued that the world has largely ignored the plight of South Africa, partly due to a perception that the country deserves its current situation as a consequence of its apartheid past. He emphasized the need for global attention and intervention to address the escalating violence and socio-economic decline. Despite the dire circumstances, Hersov offered a glimmer of hope for South Africa's future. He suggested that the upcoming elections in 2024 could present an opportunity for change, as the ANC's grip on power appears to be weakening. He called for a new political coalition that could prioritize meritocracy and effective governance over racial and ideological divisions. Hersov concluded by emphasizing the importance of free speech and the role of individuals willing to speak out against the injustices in South Africa. He expressed his commitment to advocating for change despite the personal risks involved and encouraged others to join in the fight for a better future for all South Africans.